From the dojo to the octagon, this is Budocast, your source for the latest in martial arts news, culture, and competition. From breaking fight results to evolving techniques, we cover it all. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
So I want you to imagine stepping into a steel cage for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, fighting for your physical health, your financial livelihood, and you only throw 12 meaningful punches.
Just 12. It's crazy to think about.
Right. Now imagine the complete opposite. You know, wading into a 25-minute absolute bloodbath, you're getting poked in the eye, absorbing immense brain trauma, and you're just smiling through the violence.
Two totally different extremes of the exact same sport.
Exactly. And today, we're really unpacking that messy, kind of evolving line between martial arts as a pure survival mechanism and, well, martial arts as a consumable entertainment product.
It's a massive topic.
It is. We are going to build a complete map of the combat sports landscape right now. And our mission for this deep dive is to start at the granular level, the actual physical biomechanics of submission grappling.
Right, the real foundation.
From there, we'll look at how those mechanics are tested at the highest level of pure sport at the ADCC World Championships. Then, we look back at how martial arts was originally sold to the global masses.
Looking at the cinematic legacy of the late Chuck Norris, which is fascinating.
Absolutely. And finally, we bring it all into the bleeding-edge drama of today's UFC. You know, where the tension between winning a fight and entertaining a crowd is just fracturing divisions right now.
Yeah, we have huge stack of sources today to guide us through this.
We really do. We're looking at a comprehensive BJJ positional guide from Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu on YouTube. We've got the official athlete invite list for the 2026 ADCC World Championships via Flow Grappling.
We're also pulling from a really detailed obituary for Chuck Norris from The Guardian.
And rounding it out with the latest UFC fight news and reactions from TalkSport and MMA fighting. So it's a lot of ground to cover.
It's a massive spectrum. But, you know, what connects all of these different arenas, whether it's the training mat, the movie set, or the octagon, is the physical reality of the human body.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, before we can talk about the million-dollar stakes of the UFC or the grand spectacle of ADCC, we really have to understand the foundational mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
How does one human being physically dominate another?
Right. Because before we can analyze the high-stakes chess matches, we kind of need to understand how the pieces actually move on the board, right?
Exactly. And that guide from Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu is perfect for this.
So let's start on the bottom, the most iconic position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the guard. To define it simply, if you are on the bottom with your back on the mat and your legs are between you and the person on top of you, you're playing guard.
It literally guards your vital organs.
Yeah. I actually like to visualize this using like a real estate analogy. Think of your physical torso as a highly valuable piece of property. The guard is your defensive wall. It's your perimeter fence.
That's a great way to put it.
The top player's entire goal is to break through that fence, bypass your legs, and occupy your property. So, okay, let's unpack this a bit. Why is the concept of establishing 4 points of connection so crucial when you're trying to maintain that wall?
Well, real estate is a decent starting point, but I actually prefer to think of it as a drowning man.
Oh, wow. Okay. Dark, but I like it.
Right. Because when you are flat on your back, gravity is the water. It is constantly pulling the top player's weight down onto you. And if you let them settle, you will drown in that pressure.
You just get crushed.
Exactly. Your guard is your life raft. And the 4 points of connection are basically how you lash yourself to that raft. BJJ is fundamentally a battle of geometry, levers, and fulcrums.
It's all physics.
All physics. If you just lay there, the top player has all the kinetic energy. To neutralize that, you have to tether yourself to their body.
So what do those points look like in practice?
The positional guide emphasizes that 3 points of connection, say your two hands gripping their lapels and one foot planted firmly on their hip, is the absolute minimum required to keep them from passing.
Okay, so 3 keeps you alive.
Barely alive, yeah.
Yeah.
Less than 3 is incredibly dangerous. But 4 points, that is the gold standard. When you have both hands and both feet physically engaged with a top player grabbing sleeves, hooking behind knees, you're not just surviving anymore.
You're steering the boat.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are dictating the spatial relationship. You're using the skeletal structure of your arms and legs to bear their weight instead of relying on your muscles.
Because your muscles will just give out, right?
Oh, they'll exhaust in seconds. But from those 4 points of control, you can advance. You can isolate a limb and attack with the submission directly from the bottom.
Or take the back.
Or, crucially, you can execute a sweep.
And a sweep changes the entire math of the fight, doesn't it? For those listening, a sweep is when you use your levers, those points of connection, to physically unbalance the top player and knock them over. You force a complete positional reversal where you end up on top.
And in tournament play, executing a sweep earns you 2 points.
Right. And there is a vital mechanical distinction here. Whether you sweep them and end up trapped inside their guard, or you sweep them and pass their legs entirely in one fluid motion, the sweep itself is always worth 2 points.
Because you defied gravity. You reversed the hierarchy of the fight.
That makes total sense. Now, the specific configuration of your life raft changes depending on how the top player is coming at you.
Yeah, they generally attack from one of 2 postures, on their knees or on their feet. When they are on their knees, the bottom player utilizes the classic foundational guards.
Like the closed guard.
Right, where your legs are fully wrapped and locked around their lower back. This is the ultimate trap because you are literally carrying their posture with your hips.
And then there's the butterfly guard.
Yeah, where you use the insteps of your feet hooked inside their upper thighs. You're basically elevating their weight like a forklift.
That requires so much timing. And then you have the half guard, where you only have one of their legs trapped between yours.
And within half guard, there is so much micro battling. You see the knee shield where you place your top shin diagonally across their chest.
You're literally building a bone frame between you and them to manage the distance.
Exactly. But the moment the top player stands up, that entire geometry changes.
It becomes chaotic. Standing guards force you to connect your feet to entirely different targets, like the inside of their knees to buckle their base, or threading your legs up to the inside of their biceps.
It becomes this frantic battle to control their body before they can run around your legs, which brings us to the perspective of the top player, the person trying to pass the guard.
Okay, so their primary objective is simple. Stay on top, do not get swept, and do not let the bottom player stand up.
Right. To actually pass the guard, you have to dismantle those structural points of connection systematically. You cannot just dive for their neck.
You will get strangled if you do that.
100%. You have to navigate what are essentially layers of defense. The first layer is the feet. You have to get past the feet first.
Redirect them or pin them down.
Exactly. And once you clear the feet, you encounter the knees. If you can smash the knees together or pin them to the mat, you finally gain access to the hips and the upper body.
Now, here is where a really fascinating tactical debate emerges from the source. The instructor, Jordan, explicitly notes that he actually loves it when people try to pass on their knees.
Yeah, he says it gives him an advantage.
Right. So let me ask you, is passing on the feet objectively better, or does it just invite different risks?
Well, it's a trade-off. It's kinetic energy versus static pressure. Passing on the feet is objectively more dynamic. You have gravity on your side. You have momentum.
I can move side to side really fast.
Exactly. Darting side to side to outflank the legs before they establish grips. You force them to react to your speed. However, and this is a big however, when you stand up, you give the bottom player incredible access to the levers of your legs.
Right, you're exposing yourself.
You expose yourself to heel hooks, knee bars, deep single leg sweep entries. You are literally giving them targets.
So passing on the knees is safer from leg locks?
Generally, yes. Passing on the knees is a lower, heavier, much more grinding approach. It severely limits your mobility, which is exactly why the instructor says it makes his defensive job easier. He knows exactly where you are.
Because you aren't moving fast enough to surprise him.
Right. But passing on the knees allows you to apply immense, crushing chest-to-chest pressure. You are slowly cooking the bottom player rather than trying to sprint past them.
Okay, so put yourself in the bottom player's shoes for a second. Let's say the top player successfully navigates that minefield. They redirect your feet, they pin your knees, and they bypass your legs.
They occupy the prime real estate.
The perimeter wall is breached. Let's talk about the dominant positions, starting with the mount. This is just a nightmare scenario. The attacker is sitting directly on top of your torso, knees on the floor on either side of your ribs.
You get 4 points in a tournament just for achieving this position, because it is so devastating.
The guide distinguishes between a low mount and a high mount.
Yeah, low mount is where the attacker's hips are heavy and glued to the defender's hips to prevent bucking. But the high mount, that is where the suffocation begins.
Because they slide their knees all the way up into your armpits.
Right. You have 200 pounds of weight sitting entirely on your diaphragm. You physically cannot draw a full breath. and the submissions available from there are terrifying.
Let's run through them. From a standard mount, you have the Americana.
Right, where the top player isolates your wrist, pins it to the mat alongside your head, and violently rotates your shoulder joint backward.
Until the rotator cuff tears. Then you have the arm triangle, using their body weight to mash your shoulder into your carotid artery.
You also have cross-collar chokes, Ezekiel chokes. But when the attacker transitions to high mount, they expose the arms entirely.
They can pivot into S-mount, right?
Yes, wrapping their legs into an S shape across your chest, trapping one of your arms completely. And that leads directly into a devastating armbar. They use their hips as a fulcrum to hyperextend your elbow.
And there is a universal mechanical principle for attacking from the top that the guide really harps on. You must separate the bottom player's elbows from their body.
That is the golden rule of top control.
If the person on the bottom keeps their elbows glued to their sides, they maintain their structural integrity. But the absolute second you pry an elbow away from their torso, their defense collapses.
Their arm just becomes a lever you can pull. And if we look at side control, that principle is on full display.
Side control is where the attacker is lying perpendicular across your chest, forming a T shape.
Exactly. And for there, you can attack with the Americana, the armbar, or the Kimura. The Kimura is basically the inverse of the Americana, rotating the arm up behind the back.
Like a police compliance hold.
Right. And there's also the Kanto choke. But the defensive instinct of the bottom player in side control is to use their near side arm to push the attacker's hip away.
Just to create enough space to slide their knee back in and recover guard?
To neutralize that, the guide details this brilliant tactic called stapling. The top player literally drives their shin across the bottom player's bicep, pinning that defensive arm to the mat like a staple.
Oh, that's brutal.
It completely kills their primary escape mechanism, and it frees up the top player's hands to attack the forearm.
It is a dark, methodical science. But as bad as mount and side control are, taking back is the undisputed pinnacle of positional dominance.
Oh, absolutely. The most dominant position in grappling.
You are attached to their back, clinging to them like a backpack. They cannot see you. All of their natural weapons are facing the wrong direction.
And you control their mobility by weaving your feet inside their inner thighs, which are called hooks.
Or locking in a body triangle, wrapping your legs entirely around their lower ribs. It literally squeezes the air out of their lungs.
And the primary submissions from there are iconic. The rear naked choke, the bow and arrow, arm bars, and rear triangles.
But for the person trapped on the bottom, the guide offers one universal rule of survival. Never let someone grab your head and neck.
The seatbelt grip. You can never let the attacker connect their hands in a loop around your neck and your arm.
Because once that seatbelt is locked in, they control the rotation of your spine.
Right, and your chances of escaping drop to near zero. So the immediate defense is the 2-on-1 baseball bat grip. You use both hands to aggressively grip their attacking arm.
Fighting with everything you have to keep their forearm away from your throat. Just describing the mechanics of this paints a picture of how physically exhausting submission grappling is.
It's a constant grinding battle for millimeters of space.
Right. And training these grueling positions just completely depletes the body. Which actually brings us to an interesting point from the source about recovery. Sweat doesn't just strip water from your system.
No, it violently flushes out essential electrolytes, specifically sodium, potassium, and magnesium.
And when you lose those specific minerals, that's what causes that deep fatigue and those terrible muscle cramps.
Exactly. Your electrical system starts to misfire.
Which is exactly why the source material recommends LMNT electrolytes to replace those specific minerals. And speaking of keeping things running optimally, this is actually a perfect time to mention the partners who help us out. Before we dive deeper, shout out to our sponsors. First up, Elite Sports, leaders in premium fight wear for BJJ and MMA. Whether you're rolling or striking, they've got gear built to move with you. Check them out at elitesports.com. And if you're a school owner looking to optimize your dojo's performance, you need to check out Lotus by Open Black Belt. It's the ultimate management software for tracking ranks, attendance, and billing. They are currently offering a free trial to our listeners. Streamline your business so you can spend more time on the mats. Visit openblackbelt.com to start your trial today. You can find links for both in the show notes. And if you've got a story, news tip, or question, send it to us at Budocast.com. Of grappling. Let's look at the who and the where.
Transitioning from the training mats to the grandest stage.
Exactly. According to Flow Grappling, the 2026 ADCC World Championships are heading to Krakow, Poland.
What's fascinating here is the sheer brutal exclusivity of ADCC.
Yeah, let's break down the brackets.
This isn't a local tournament. The men's divisions consist of just 16-man brackets. The women's divisions are even tighter, featuring 8 woman brackets.
So there are literally only 16 or 8 humans on the planet in that weight class competing.
Think about that math. It's insane. And there are dual pathways to entry. You can get an invite based on past prestige and ADCC medals.
Or you have to survive the regional trial.
Right. North America, South America, Europe, Africa and Middle East, and Asia and Oceania. It's a grueling single-elimination gauntlet.
Pure meritocracy. And Flow Grappling gave us the official roster of returning 2024 champions whose participation is locked. The men's side is stacked. Diogo Reis at 66 kilograms, Mica Galvão at 77 kilograms.
Galvão is just a phenom.
Giancarlo Bodoni at 88 kilograms, Felipe Pena at plus 99 kilograms, and the women's returning champions are locked in too. Adele Fornerino at minus 55 kilograms, Ana Carolina Vieira at minus 65 kilograms, and Rafaela Guedes at plus 65 kilograms.
It's an incredible lineup. But there is a massive dilemma hovering over the entire event.
The super fight.
Yes. The reigning 2024 minus 99 kilogram champ, Kenan Duarte, is locked in for the customary super fight spot. But the reigning super fight champion, Gordon Ryan, has retired.
So what does this all mean for the ADCC organizers? How do they fill that legendary void?
It's a huge problem. Gordon Ryan was the rising tide that lifted all boats. He moved the needle. Do they invite an older veteran back for a legacy match?
Or do they pluck a massive UFC superstar with elite grappling credentials?
Exactly. Someone who brings mainstream eyeballs. Or maybe they trust the pure sporting system and let the 2026 Absolute tournament play out, hoping a new star emerges in Poland. The pressure to figure this out is immense.
It really is. Now, when we talk about mainstream eyeballs, the modern grapplers heading to Poland owe a massive debt to the pioneers who first brought martial arts into the global mainstream.
Oh, without a doubt.
So we need to pause and look back at the cinematic legacy of a true titan who recently passed away. According to an obituary from The Guardian, Carlos Ray Norris, Chuck Norris, died on March 19, 2026, aged 86.
It's the end of an era.
He was born March 10, 1940, and his roots are fascinating. Born in Oklahoma, enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, which is where he picked up the nickname Chuck.
And it was while he was stationed in Korea that he began learning karate.
But he wasn't just an actor playing a fighter. He had a legitimate martial arts pedigree. A 6-time world middleweight karate champion, he retired undefeated in 1974.
He ran his own karate schools, taught stars like Steve McQueen. He was a weaponized human being long before he stepped on a movie set.
Which brings us to his cinematic legacy. How did he contrast with other 80s action stars?
Well, think about Stallone or Schwarzenegger. Massive muscles, giant guns. Norris didn't need stunt doubles or quick cuts.
Right, the camera work was different.
Exactly. His fight scenes, like his legendary clash with Bruce Lee in The Way of the Dragon, they were shot wide. They used long takes to preserve the integrity of the martial arts. You were watching real masters move.
There's a great quote from the source that sums it up. The paradox of karate is that I'm well equipped to defend myself and never fight.
It perfectly captures his on-screen persona, the stoic moral hero.
He had a massive 80s run. Lone Wolf McQuade, Missing in Action, Invasion USA, and then that legendary 90s TV run in Walker, Texas Ranger.
He carved out a very specific niche.
Now, before we move forward, I need to state very clearly for you, the listener, that the following political views are being reported directly from the Guardian source material. We at the Deep Dive are neither endorsing nor condemning these views. We are simply reflecting the historical record provided by our sources impartially.
Right, just laying out what's in the obituary.
Exactly. The source details his very conservative views. He was a self-described flag waver and a Reagan fan. He promoted the birther movement, took a stance against gay people in the Scouts, and wrote columns for WorldNet Daily.
The Guardian also highlights a specific contradiction in his life. He dedicated a book to a Columbine victim while simultaneously cheerleading for the firearms industry.
It's a complex legacy, but here's where it gets really interesting. His bizarre rebirth as an internet meme.
Oh man, the Chuck Norris facts.
Yes. A whole generation knows him as this meme of invulnerability. Chuck Norris makes onions cry.
Or the Cobra Bite joke he actually referenced in The Expendables 2.
Right. After 5 days of agonizing pain, the Cobra died. He totally embraced it. But while Chuck Norris popularized the cinematic fight where the good guy always wins definitively, today's real-life action in the octagon is far messier.
It's highly controversial and unpredictable.
Which brings us to the octagon's current drama. We're pulling from Talksport and MMA Fighting to look at the UFC London fallout. Let's start with the main event, Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy.
A grueling fight. Evloev got the majority decision win.
But it included a point deduction for a low blow.
Yeah, losing a point usually ruins your chances on the scorecards, but Evloev managed to grind it out with his wrestling. It was messy.
But the real controversy was the Michael Venom Page fight against Sam Patterson. MVP moved to 170 pounds. He won a unanimous decision, but he was mercilessly booed.
The statistics from this fight are shocking. Only 39 significant strikes landed in the entire 15-minute fight.
Between both guys.
Yes, with 0 takedowns. Page's best round featured just 12 strikes. It was a snooze fest.
Okay, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, is MVP's hyper-evasive style a failure of the fighter to entertain or a failure of the opponent to close the distance? Is there a place in the UFC for pure point fighting?
It's the ultimate MMA identity crisis. From a pure sporting perspective, MVP fought a perfect fight. He won, took 0 damage, got paid. But the UFC is an entertainment property.
The crowd was booing, the fans hated it.
Right. When a fighter actively avoids engagement to that extreme, they become a liability to the promoter. Patterson shares the blame technically, but the UFC structurally rewards fighters who take risks, not safety-first point fighters.
And the ultimate proof of that is Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. According to Talksport, Paddy is targeting a July return for International Fight Week.
Which is crazy considering his last fight.
Yeah, his bloody 25-minute unanimous decision loss to Justin Gaethje at UFC 324. He absorbed nasty eye pokes, terrible damage.
So he's ready to jump right back into the fire.
He wants Benoit Saint-Denis, Arman Sarukian, or the loser of the Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira BMF title fight. He understands the entertainment business.
He knows his value is tied to his willingness to bleed for the crowd.
Meanwhile, the light heavyweight division is an absolute chaos. Alex Pereira just vacated the LHW belt to move to heavyweight to fight Cyril Gane,
Creating a massive power vacuum.
Magomed Ankalaev is returning to fight in Abu Dhabi in July. You'll remember he lost to Pereira via KO in 1 minute in their UFC 320 rematch.
Right, so Ankalaev is fighting, but against who?
The speculation is wild. Robert Whittaker is moving up to LHW in July. Could it be Ankalaev versus Whittaker?
It would be a brilliant stylistic matchup.
But neither of them are fighting for the vacant belt. Gigi Prochaska and Carlos Ulberg are fighting for the vacant LHW belt at UFC 327. So Ankalaev is just waiting in the wings.
It perfectly encapsulates the ruthless, unpredictable nature of the fight business. One guy moves up, and the whole division scrambles.
It really is chaotic. We've covered so much today. From the pure mechanics of grappling to the grand stage of ADCC, the cinematic myth of Chuck Norris, and the high-stakes reality of the UFC.
And it leaves you with a final thought to mull over. As we watch the mechanics of pure grappling, the cinematic legacy of Norris, and the sometimes frustrating reality of UFC points fighting, the line between martial artist and entertainer is constantly shifting.
It really is.
So in the modern era of combat sports, does the responsibility lie with the fighter to entertain the crowd, or solely to secure the win by any means necessary? It's something to think about.
That's it for this episode of Budocast. Thanks for joining us as we break down the latest in martial arts. We'll be back soon with more news, stories, and insights. Until then, train hard, stay humble.